On this week's episode of Whitetail Cribs, we're stopping near Lake Michigan to visit with Mark Peterson. Mark is the owner of World Trophy Adventures. Among many other ventures, Mark has traveled all around the globe and is on the quest to complete the Triple Threat Super Slam, which is all 29 big game species with a rifle, archery equipment, and a muzzleloader. Join along as he shares some of his most memorable hunts and stories from over the years. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a thumbs up.
Hi there, Mark Peterson. Come on in and take a look at my trophy room. Mark Peterson, I own Worldwide Trophy Adventures, used to be Cabela's Outdoor Adventures. Also host a couple of TV shows, all centered around hunting around the world, North America, upland, waterfowl, you name it. Everybody always loves to look at gear, so let's go take a look at my gear room. And I basically got this set up as I do a ton of traveling in the fall, and there are lots of times I only come home for a limited period of time. So when I designed this room, I basically set it up that I can come in here, drop the stuff that I had, pick up my other stuff, and be ready to roll in just a period of time versus having to go through everything. So obviously got clothes set for any type of hunting that I'd possibly need. I've got cosmetics over here, special bins depending if I need face masks, head nets, socks, gloves, camping supplies, I mean, you name it, bags, got everything you'd possibly need to go hunting for anything. I still got my turkey stuff from the spring I haven't put away yet, but ready to roll. So this past fall, I kind of challenged myself. I've raised bird dogs ever since I could barely walk. Basically, I've always had bird dogs, and I love it, but being a TV hunter, upland shows never really rated as good as big game hunting, so I always had to get ahead in my filming schedule, and I was finally far enough ahead with big game hunts that I was allowed to keep my TV series going and then kind of do what I considered a pet filming project, that being going after what I consider the Upland Slam of North America. There are 27 upland birds, so I grabbed my 3 Brittany's and my dad joined me with his Brittany, and we set out last fall, try to get all the upland species. So what you've got on this wall is the completion. We were successful. We started in Nevada for Himalayan Snowcock, went to Alaska after that, covered a majority of the western states, went down to Sonora, Mexico, and Hawaii, and this is the accumulation. This is basically the Upland Slam. It considers doves, quail, the grouse species. Being a bird hunter, this is probably one of my favorite areas in my room that I get to enjoy all the time, is just look here and enjoy all the memories. When I kicked off this slam, the first bird, and it was the only hunt that I didn't have my dogs with me, was a Himalayan Snowcock. And a lot of people have never heard of them before. From the Himalayan mountains of Asia, and they actually brought them into the state of Nevada and brought them to the Ruby Mountains to where there weren't any game birds. So they brought them in there for something for people to enjoy and hunt. And what I tell everybody, it's basically mountain goat hunting for a bird, because you're up at about 10,000 to 11,000 feet elevation and you're using binos. So you don't hunt them with dogs in front of you. They actually go up on the rock faces and start calling. And when they start calling, it's either they're going to glide down to water or food. So started that off, and that was the first one. First night in the tent, after seeing one of these way off in the distance and then watching it glide for 1.5 miles down the valley, I questioned really a lot about what I was doing in life, because it was one of those things I couldn't believe I was actually there. Chances of success were very small. Luckily, the next morning, that same group of birds was in the same area and calling, and we snuck up the mountain on the backside, and then it was literally spot and stalk, just like you would a big game hunt. For this little bird right here with the white neck on it, you can call it little, it's actually a pretty big game bird, but that kicked it off, and from there, flew right to Alaska, and we're on the road for 6 weeks straight before coming home, getting a little break, and going back at it to finish the slam. As I designed the room with the team from the Wildlife Gallery, we kind of broke it apart, different regions. So I do a ton of mountain hunting for the TV shows, and that's probably my passion, is mountain hunting. So we set up this whole area, and I haven't been one to be on a successful mountain hunt either after a sheep or ibex or anything like that and not full body mount it. There's too much that goes into it, too much hard work, training, planning, and all that. So what you've got up here is the majority of my mountain hunting so far. And if I break these down, there's been a ton of stuff in Asia that's crazy experiences, some cool, some bad. I mean, nobody ever says, man, the food in Asia is really awesome. But then some first in here. So my favorite hunt out of all these, if you come here, the blue sheep down here. So we were the first ones to successfully film a blue sheep hunt in northern Pakistan. And it was a brutal trip because it took 7 days of travel from where I live in Michigan to get to the hunting area. The last 2 days before we got there, it was hiking where we took off from a village called Shimshal that was at 11,000 feet elevation. We worked ourselves up to 16,000 feet elevation, and we were literally hiking for 2 days. And that was one to where I started off and felt like He-Man. I had my backpack loaded up, gun on my shoulder, and the guys were like, man, you should probably take that and we'll carry it for you. And I started off and felt really good until about the first 4 hours, and then I just started peeling stuff out of my backpack. But got there, hunting was cold, and we stayed in a herder's hut. It was quite an experience, to say the least. But day 3 ended up taking this one, which made it the first blue sheep in northern Pakistan taking on TV, which was sweet. Stayed a couple more days, then hiked back out, started a 7-day trip back home. I've spent just over 40 days in Pakistan, and everybody's like, man, why would you go and hunt in Pakistan? Pakistan actually has some of the best mounting hunting that there is in the world. I absolutely love it. I've never had a single issue there, and it's been amazing. I've got 2 more trips planned to go back whenever this COVID thing ends, but there are a few animals intermixed in here that are from Pakistan. I've got the 3 Urials, the Afghan, the Blanford, the Punjab, and then Suleiman Markhor there from Pakistan as well. All great trips. And then obviously when we designed it, Marco Polo has to go up on top. It's probably one of the most beautiful sheep you'll ever see with the swooping curls right next to a high Altai Argali. And then as we continue designing the room, I wanted to center everything around. I'm fortunate enough to have 3 young kids, and I love their friends to be here versus at somebody else's house. So we designed this whole room with a big area. Yeah, it's a trophy room, but I wanted my kids to be able to enjoy it too, so we've got game tables set up in here. And as we went through and designed it, we kind of set, okay, here's going to be a mountain area, and then we kind of rolled into what we are North America part of the room. So we've got over here, my first mountain hunt, my first sheep hunt, is that stone sheep right there. It was originally booked in British Columbia for a mountain goat moose combo, and the outfitter called me about 3 weeks before we went. He said, I've got a couple stone sheep tags that I'll discount you if you and your dad want to do it. This was 15 years ago. So I was in my early 20s, and I not as experienced as I am now, put it that way. So I didn't realize when we were going in October was a little late to be sheep hunting to successfully do it. So we got there and there was snow everywhere and completely messed up the sheep patterns, and hunted 8 days hard on that hunt before we even saw anything. But from that point on day 8, we took the stone sheep. Day 9, we took a grizzly bear. Day 10, we took a mountain goat right there, and day 11 we took a moose. And that's why you got to love British Columbia, because you don't know. And we went 8 hard days of hunting, and then 4 days in a row we just rolled in some good luck. But that hunt, as tough as it was, and as cold and as miserable as it was probably the most rewarding hunt I'd ever done, because it made me realize what mountain hunting is. And that's why I love it, because it pushes you both physically and mentally. So I spend a ton of time in the mountains every year. Kind of rolling through here, Alaska, brown bear off the Alaska Peninsula, cold, wet, and miserable. If you want to bear hunt both Alaskan grizzly or brown bear, that's why I tell everybody it's going to be cold, wet, and miserable. If you can put up with that, you can bear hunt. This guy was from this past spring, just south of Unalakleet in Alaska. We went and were grizzly bear hunting, and this is where he got dropped off, and then it was a backpack hunt, 10-day backpack hunt after that. So you basically get up high, and grizzly bears, actually brown bears, grizzly bears, are one that don't use patterns. So it's not like a whitetail that they'll use the same trail. These are the king of their area. Nobody messes with them. So they walk where they want, when they want to. So you get up as high as you can and you just glass, just like your mule deer hunting. Just up there and start glassing. Day 1, we were up there, spotted a big boar off in the distance, and we had to cross 2 rivers. And in Alaska, when you cross 2 rivers, I mean, you're waist deep. You don't have time because this bear is moving, so you don't have time to change into waders, and plus you can't carry that weight. So day 1, we were taking off. First river we went to was moving pretty good because the snow was starting to melt. And 3 of us were crossing with arms linked, and camera guy swiped up, and next thing you know, all 3 of us were floating down the river lost a good portion of our cameras, all the footage up to that point, regrouped, made it to the other side of the river, soaking wet, still had enough. We had a GoPro and our backup camera on us at that point, took off after the bear, but got to the hill and he was long gone. The problem with this is now we're soaking wet. All of our gear is soaking wet. We've lost half our cameras. We do the hike of shame back to our tent, sleep for a night plus, try to dry out, but again, it's Alaska, so the humidity's awful. Never really got dried out for the rest of the trip. Day 5, we're up on that same glassing knob, spotted this guy with a sow, took off after him. It was one of those most memorable days because it was literally a 10-hour stalk to get to where he was at. When we took off, we didn't know what they were hanging around about, but turns out there was a moose kill there. So there was a sow and a cub, and then this guy, and they would all go back and forth around this moose kill. The last 200 yards, we actually stalked up a river, topped over. The guide started calling, and that's when this guy got up from his bed. And I just remember in my scope, his head looked like a beach ball, just giant. Presented a quartering 2 shot, made a good shot about 225 yards. And again, cold, wet, and miserable. That's when the real work started because we took pictures and then we had to skin this guy out and go back to camp, which was a good 12-hour hike away. So I think I was gone a total of 9 days in the field and lost about 22 pounds on that hunt. So if you're looking for a diet, you can go grizzly bear hunting. That's a good one. Everybody's always drawn to this area in the trophy room. And this is the World Slam of turkeys with a couple other things mixed in here. Obviously the Easterns from Michigan here. One of my favorites, the ocellated turkey there from the jungle. There's curacao. See, we got a crested guan mixed in here, Coatimundi, all from the jungle of the Yucatan. One of my favorite spots to hunt. If you're looking for something that's unique and doesn't break the budget, you guys got to check out an ocellated hunt. I mean, it is one of the best experiences and adventures that you can do while staying in North America. Yes, it's central Mexico, but extremely safe there. It's a good one. As we transition in the room, kind of left this for our Africa corner. Obviously got a Cape buffalo. One of the craziest things you can hunt in Africa is a Cape buffalo. Everybody always tells you stalking Cape buffalo in the tall grass gets the heart rate going, and that's exactly what this guy did. Leopard up on top, and there's plenty of room over there. One of the tricky things about hunting Africa is always getting stuff back, especially cats. So I've got a lion set to come back whenever it opens back up and so forth, but man, Africa is such a special place. I live pretty rural where I'm at, so I felt like the need of, when I was designing the room is, yeah, let's put a bar in, and if I'm going to do it, let's do it right. So this is my bar area over here, and this is where I keep my deer that I remember the most as well. So I've got early muzzleloader season Kansas buck here, went with Salt River Outfitters, and I don't know if you guys have done this early season muzzleloader hunt, but it's pretty cool. So you're hunting, it's the 3rd weekend in September, special draw. But if you get it, the deer are still so patterned at that time and you're able to use a muzzleloader. So it's a pretty high success hunt. That's a good one. Got a big bodied Saskatchewan buck up here, Safari River. That one of my favorite spots to hunt is Saskatchewan for deer. And the reason being, growing up in Michigan, we have, I think, just over 700,000 hunters that show up on November 15th, which is Michigan opening day of deer season. So deer act normal for about the first 7 minutes of that day, and then they're not normal for the rest of the season when you're rifle hunting. Saskatchewan, the nearest hunter that I had next to me when I was hunting here was 6 miles away, because there's one outfitter that had the area, so I could tell it was 6 miles away. So this deer literally was acting normal and chasing does throughout the day. And if you want to hunt somewhere where you hunt undisturbed deer, Saskatchewan's a place, just because the deer are so spread out and the density is so wide, but the deer act normal all the time. So you can get a big mature deer like this that acts normal at noon. It's crazy. You don't hear many people about hunting in California, but this is a Thule elk only found in California. Hunted in July, so this was actually taken in velvet, but I lost the velvet because it was so hot. So if you think about California in July, it was about 110. We shot this bull at about 11. We tried our darndest to get that out of there and not waste any meat. We saved all the meat, but we lost the velvet off the horns, which is okay because he's still a great bull. Well, very, very unique hunting along the ocean there in California, early season, and California is one of the ones, can't use lead bullets. That's the only problem about California. Well, there's a lot of problems about California, but that's the only one about hunting. And kind of as you complete the room here, so my personal challenge, and I always like to promote conservation in everything I do. So with the Upland Slam, I promoted the conservation around each species and what each species needs to thrive in the future. Everybody always talks about big game hunting. big game habitat also affects upland animals. Growing up as an upland hunter, I always wondered why populations flexed a little bit up and down. So I did a deep dive in all that. This fall, what I'm doing that same conservation project around waterfalls. So I'm going to try to do the Waterfall Slam of North America and specifically go after what each species, where their flyway major are, where they winter, where they summer, where they do everything, and what habitat-wise is needed for ducks of all species to thrive in the future. And that's what's set to go right here. The Wildlife Gallery brought a muralist in, and I mean, this is probably my favorite. So I live in Oceana County. The lighthouse that they painted is the Silver Lake Lighthouse, which is literally 3 miles down the road from me. So I grew up here. I've seen that lighthouse hundreds of times. They put it in this picture, and it just turned out amazing. So this is also my trophy room, but it's also where I have my home office. Originally, when I started in the outdoor industry, I had a team of consultants that was based in Michigan. Since buying Cabela's Outdoor Adventure, the team in Sydney had so much experience. That's where our main headquarters is. But I'm 8 states away, so my office is right up here. Let's go take a look. And this will give you an awesome bird's eye view of the room as well. So this is my home office right here. The Wildlife Gallery did a custom desk for me, which is pretty awesome. I got the WTA logo here, engraved elk and Rusted Rooster Studios, which I'm part of right here. Man, especially during COVID, I spent 8 to 10 hours right here. This is where I work every day. My biggest mule deer to date, 190 from the eastern plains of Colorado, right behind me, a couple of bear skulls. Map outlay of different places I've been in the world, marked with some that I have plans to go to as well. But this is what I get to see every day when I go into work. It's awesome. Say that. When I go into work and I'm not in the field. Being in the field definitely beats being in the office, but this is a pretty darn good office to work out of. Well, everybody, thanks for checking out my home office and trophy room, but it's time for you guys to hit the road. If you're interested in following along on some of my journeys and hunts, make sure to check out my social media pages or my YouTube channel.